Path to Exile 2 is an insane pack that is super overwhelming at first. It's based on Path of Exile 2, which I haven't played, so fair warning, this review is based purely on my modded Minecraft knowledge and not on any experience with the game. I'm Cosmo, your silly mod pack guy, and as always, we'll start off with performance. This pack has 10 Gorbillion particles, which I suggest disabling or turning down at least. While we do have shaders in the pack by default, the pack does not have them enabled on launch, which is very nice. The pack is meant to be played in a combination of first and third person, and if you play in first person a lot, certain abilities can become visually overwhelming very quickly. As for server performance, it is a bit of a hefty pack which requires frequent interdimensional travel. This often results in players being in different dimensions or dimension hopping at the same time, which caused major lag spikes for my server personally. However, the issue was mostly confined to when players went into or left dimensions. Not really any other issues aside from when we had like 15 people online on a 16GB server that we had hosted through Bisect. Speaking of, if you're looking for a server, I do have my own partner link below, and then if you follow that link and use code Cosmo at checkout, it'll give you 25% off of your first month with Bisect. This pack is also better played in multiplayer and even includes a setting in your mine and slash menu to disable PvP with nearby players, which means my recommendation is a small group that focuses on progressing together with more minimal visual settings for lower end PCs. As for delving into the content of the pack, the first thing I want to talk over is the quest book, and also mine and slash, which is one of the mods this pack centers on. Be sure you read things because this pack gets very confusing very quickly. I found myself not enjoying quest books as much as of late because they tend to be very similar across the board, but in this case it serves as quite a nice guide for the pack and hands over a lot of valuable information. It also has an entire campaign, offering a story and many rewards that you will need to progress. The mine and slash menus are a lot at first, but are very useful, and you should take a little time to explore them. You get to pick a class, or two if you're down with that, and there are a lot to choose from. There's Rogue, Elementalist, Chronomancer, Fighter, Warlock, Minstrel, Shaman, Brawler, Hunter, and Crusader. Personally, I went with Rogue and Crusader at first, later on switching to Rogue and Fighter. There's also a lot, and I mean a lot, of menus which are difficult to grasp at first. I think this pack's biggest hurdle is the learning curve, especially for newer modded players, but it is very worth it. So while there are a few different skill trees to manage, the pack is also very forgiving when it comes to you making mistakes or taking suboptimal routes, allowing relatively easy access to potions that allow you to reset any invested points. You can even set up multiple characters on the same account with the ability to switch between them. The pack also does not punish you for dying until you hit level 50, and even then keep inventory is still enabled by default. At first, I wasn't sure I was a big fan of that, but I will admit after spending quite a bit of time in the pack, it is best played with this enabled. So how do you gain XP to level in the first place? By completing quests, as I said earlier, but also by killing mobs and exploring, looting dungeons, etc. When you kill mobs, there's a chance for something called a gateway to spawn, and this gateway is one of the ways this pack avoids a bit of a pitfall I was afraid of encountering here, which is the reliance on RNG mechanics for core progression. This is something in gaming that is debated a bit. Of course, RNG is important to have variety in games in general, but you don't want to have your big progression hurdles completely reliant on it. This is because it removes player agency, resulting in a lot of frustration for them. Say you're playing a mod pack and you want to go to the Nether, but you need to defeat a boss before you can go there, which is not an uncommon thing, but say that boss can only spawn in a specific structure that is very rare, and you don't have a structure compass or any locator to help you find it. That would feel terrible unless you got very lucky, no? Gateways help to avoid this by being an extra resource cost, but allowing you to force spawn some of the mini bosses that the questline is reliant on. They're also just kind of fun to do with your group for XP purposes. Speaking of other ways to earn XP, there are things called harvests and obelisks, as well as something you'll encounter later on in the game called the map device. Harvests serve as a sort of mob horde dungeon thing that lets you kill a bunch of mobs for XP. Obelisks are much the same, though they can be customized and leveled for better rewards. Dungeon maps are what you use on the map device, and they are much more detailed versions of the previous map types, with multiple rooms and extra rewards, including secondary objectives and even a boss fight at the end. Your XP obviously contributes to your level, granting you points to spend every time you level up. You can spend these points on spells and passive abilities based on your class or classes. You also gain something called talent points, which are what you use to pick stat buffs in this talent tree. Some of these can majorly alter your gameplay, so choose wisely. It also helps prevent replays of the pack from feeling stale, which is pretty cool. The last tree to worry about is the ascendancy stuff, which lets you pick a specialty to hone on specific stats. I personally went the trickster route since I was running a damage and leech focused build, but there is a lot of different stuff to choose from. With that discussion out of the way, it's time to talk about the main campaign. Almost all of it is pretty good, minus some mini bosses and side quests suffering from that RNG thing, namely that cursed mother lava squid, though it's not really a big issue. in my opinion, because a lot of them you'll encounter organically in the pack anyway. But I do enjoy how put together all of it is. It prepares you for what's to come, so long as you read it and aren't stupid, while not spoiling the boss fights, which there are quite a lot of. This pack also has a boatload of dimensions that it's structured around, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not usually a fan of this because it's usually not balanced at all. I find a lot of pack devs throw in dimensions because they're cool and then they don't do anything with them. Take blue skies for example. By default, you're forced to get gear from the respective dimension you're in, and since dimension configs are left untouched, this is a regular thing to encounter with the mod, even in the context of a larger pack. Thankfully, Craft Exile doesn't fall into this. Instead, through the campaign outlined in the quest book, dimensions are like different tiers of progression. You're not technically restricted from entering them too early, but you're discouraged from doing so, and the required items are restricted, yet in a way that feels natural to organic gameplay. You're advised against going to the Nether before level 15, and you don't go to the Undergarden until you've gotten a drop from the Wither, for example. You know what else you're advised to do? Like, subscribe, and leave a comment below for the algorithm. I also have a Discord and a Twitch, and you can join as a channel member. Channel members and Twitch subs got access to this video a whole day early. Of course, it is completely not necessary, but it is very appreciated. Now back to the video. Inventory in a pack like this would typically become a big issue very quickly, but thankfully we have several solutions available. Not only do we have access to sophisticated backpacks, but we also have a wallet for coins and a master backpack which will automatically pick up mine and slash gear, gems, treasure, etc. I also love having refined storage as the main storage solution, as it is significantly less laggy than Tom's while not being near as complex as AE2, and you are only required to get into extremely basic Botania to get a storage system online. You don't even need to use Botania as a power source to keep the system online, which is really nice. That's only an issue if you want to do automation. You also have to get more in-depth with Botania to get the 64K storage discs, but you can get up to the 16K discs without doing so. But honestly, this pack gets extra points for utilizing Botania as the power generation mod, because I feel it very easily could have been Create instead, which I think I would have lost my mind if I had to delve into Create progression in another pack. Which isn't a diss on the mod, because Create is genuinely really nice, but it's overused and often handled poorly in mod packs or completely not touched at all. The only thing I note with refined storage as the primary storage mod is it maybe could do with a retexture to fit the theme of the pack a little better. And then with Botania, it would be nice to see it properly integrated into the pack. I know my friend and fellow content creator Nyagi worked quite a bit with Botania, thinking she could get her hands on some cheesy stuff only to find it was already caught by the devs and was rebalanced or cut from the pack, which is a really good thing to see. I just wish that Botania was tied in with progression maybe a little more. But I also recognize a lot of players do not like Botania, and I understand. The anti-cheese in this pack is also a really good thing, stopping mobs from dropping loot and XP when too many have been killed in the same area and allowing the chunks to slowly recover over time. Encouraging exploration so heavily is key in a pack like this. Now, some issues that I have with the pack, which admittedly is not very many. The epilogue has a huge jump in level from the final chapter, which is a bit of whiplash, but I suppose it's to push players to complete more of the quest book before they delve into the final bit of the pack. I personally have not gotten all the way to level 90 to get to the epilogue stuff, so I can't give an opinion on the content there, but I think this may be a world I continue to play on occasionally, though with how many mod packs I tend to be playing at once, I'm not entirely sure yet. I also feel the pack doesn't do a good job of explaining some things to do with gear crafting and how it all works, but I also recognize this could just be user error. Still, no matter what gear I found, I still felt terribly underpowered in some situations, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It stopped me from getting overconfident and getting into a sort of god mode where everything was just easy kills. I also really did not care for the Void Worm boss fight, though we all know how I feel about bosses that can fly. Thankfully, this one's drops do not fall into the void and the boss doesn't randomly fly away from you and heal itself. One of my other issues is a bit of a personal thing, and while I recognize there's probably not a better solution, all of the important bars like health, regen, magic shield, all of that being way in the upper corner threw me off a few times, and I found that at first it was really difficult to keep track of, and I struggled to stay on top of my health bar all throughout my playthrough. Another issue I encountered continuously in the pack is that the abilities you get from your class can override certain boss requirements, but on the bright side, if you do kill the boss that way, you don't get credit for it. Thankfully, I think the only bosses this happened with were relatively common, and finding new structures with them wasn't too difficult. But it was really frustrating at first, especially with the Ferris Rotnot, because even when I tried to follow the rules of the boss fight, it didn't give me credit the first few times. The ice maze also kind of sucks. Not gonna lie, fighting the anglerfish was aggravating, and the entire questline was my least favorite out of all the ones in the pack, which is a sentiment my friend Rivaled and I shared, and I know a couple of other players felt this way as well. I feel like this pack is a really good adventure RPG experience for players looking for something unique, and I highly recommend it. I really enjoyed my time in it. It's worth giving a shot. Thank you for watching. This is one of the videos in my holiday series. I'm putting out 2 videos a week for all of December to celebrate the holidays and offer thanks to you for all your support. All the video dates were announced in my Discord and in my community tab on here if you're interested to know what's to come. This video was actually meant to be going out on the 12th, but since Abyssal Ascent got a huge update and I was already pretty much done with my Craft Exile 2 playthrough, I figured I'd swap them so I could explore the Abyssal Ascent update. Anyway, YouTube thinks you'll enjoy this video, so maybe check it out. Thanks, bye!